Hi, this video was made to help MT2C tutors better understand student veterans in the context of their military service. In this video, we will briefly discuss the civilian-military divide and learn some basic facts about military service. We will briefly discuss the 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, describe differences between officers and enlisted personnel, and describe the differences between active duty and reserves. Understanding the military is crucial to understanding veterans. Even though veterans are a diverse group, they share a common experience of military service. Compared to previous generations, 44% of today's veterans say they have had a difficult time readjusting to civilian life. Given the respect and resources our society seems to bestow upon veterans, this might not make a lot of sense. According to a 2011 study by Pew Research Center, most Americans feel pride and gratitude towards the military while simultaneously acknowledging that they know little about the realities of military service. And even while Americans thank service members for their service, they increasingly disapprove of or do not pay attention to the wars the military has been engaged in for over 16 years. At any given time in the last decade, less than 0.5% of the U.S. population was on active duty. In total, less than 2% of the U.S. population has served post 9/11 at all. However, the U.S. has been at war in Afghanistan for over 16 years. That means that less than 2% of the U.S. population has carried the burden of over 16 years of war. Unsurprisingly, 84% of veterans believe the rest of the country has little to no understanding of the problems faced by the military. By and large, the public agrees. The military community lives in sprawling gated communities. They do their grocery shopping on base, go to movies on base, and send their kids to schools on base where they socialize with other children from military families. In turn, children from military families grow up and join the military. Veterans are over twice as likely than the civilian population to say they have a son or a daughter who serves. Increasingly, the military community is isolated from the civilian population they serve. And while the issue is deep and complex, we can help address one aspect of it by learning a bit more about the military. This video is simply meant to provide a very brief overview of some aspects of military service. First of all, there are 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. They are the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps, the U.S. Air Force, and the U.S. Coast Guard. From the outside, they may seem the same. They all wear uniforms, right? As you can see, each branch has a distinct uniform. This reflects the different missions and cultures of each branch. Furthermore, service members and veterans generally dislike being mistaken for members of other branches. For example, many Marines chafe at being called soldiers, which is a term typically reserved for members of the Army only. The U.S. Army primarily focuses on ground combat operations. The U.S. Marine Corps prides itself on being an expeditionary force that can quickly deploy for ground or amphibious operations. The Navy serves at sea, and the Air Force focuses on air capabilities. The U.S. Coast Guard technically falls under the Department of Homeland Security and provides security in coastal waters. However, it can be transferred to the DoD in times of war. Within the military, there are 2 different tracks. Officers are put in charge of enlisted personnel and must have at least a bachelor's degree to receive a commission. Officer ranks include lieutenant, captain, and general. The names of ranks can vary by branch, but some enlisted ranks are private, lance corporal, sergeant, and petty officer. Even though enlisted personnel are subordinate to officers, enlisted personnel become non-commissioned officers or NCOs such as sergeants or petty officers. Given that officers must already have a 4-year degree, most student veterans you'll meet at Mesa were enlisted. However, some students at Mesa hope to earn a commission and become military officers by doing ROTC while they complete their 4-year degrees. Another major distinction in military service is between active duty and reserves. Active duty service members are considered military full-time 24/7. Many live and work on base for the duration of their 3 to 6 year contracts. People who enlist as reserves or National Guard can be thought of as part-time military. They serve 2 days a month, 2 weeks a year. Reservists generally have another full-time job. The impact of U.S.'s wars abroad are rarely felt here at home. It's easy to forget that the U.S. has been at war nonstop since 2001. Even though Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom are both officially over, U.S. forces remain in Iraq and Afghanistan and have been there nonstop since the wars began. Regardless of our opinions on the wars, it is important as citizens to be well informed about U.S. foreign policy and actions abroad. In addition to understanding some basic concepts about the military, keeping up on the news is another way to help bridge the civilian-military divide. The civilian-military divide is a deep and complex issue with far-reaching implications for all veterans, including our student veterans here at Mesa. Hopefully after this video, you have a better understanding of student veterans in the context of military service. That's it for this video. Please check out the next video in the series, which will dive into interacting with student veterans.